Right, guys, you won't believe it. AMEX has dropped my credit limit, not one-fold, not two-fold, but threefold. So a threefold kind of decrease on my credit limit, which is substantial. So I'm going to be discussing basically my findings regarding it, because I've been looking into it and been discussing it with AMEX. And I think this is obviously going to be useful for people that have maybe an AMEX card, or it's already happened to them at the moment, or maybe in the past, or you're just curious to know that, you know, if I take this card, what is likely to happen. So guys, I'm going to be discussing my viewpoint, or essentially this drop in my AMEX card. If that's what you're interested to watch, then do watch the video from the beginning to the end, and I'm going to be discussing exactly that. So without further ado, let's slip into the intro. Right, lovely people, thank you for checking out my video. So before I divulge into this topic of dropping credit limits, specifically with AMEX, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. It's the red button below the video. It takes a second. On top of that, if you do find this topic where you think you can relate to or interesting, then do hit the like button. And on top of that, if you want to keep in tune with my other videos, smash that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I also have a website which kind of works in line with this channel, which is called swfinances.com. I try to regularly, or when I can, post blogs on there, which are kind of useful in terms of financial topics and passive income topics. So if you're interested in that, do check out my website, www.swfinances.com. Subscribe and keep regularly checking that. Right, so the topic of the main video, or the topic of this video. So I had a credit limit on my AMEX card, which was around 10,000 and a little bit over, you know, a couple of £100 over. Recently, I had got an email from AMEX, and they basically informed me that my credit limit had dropped, and it had dropped to 3,400. I think it's 3,400. Anyway, you could tell it's a huge drop. It's not like a minimal drop. It's a significant drop. Now, before I divulge into my circumstances, reason credit card companies would even consider taking such an action or drastic action on one's account is, number one, for the reason that you overspend, and you overspend significantly, or there's been a very drastic change in how much you spend. You're starting to heavily rely on your credit card when this wasn't like a trait or something that happened on the card before. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is that you have this huge ample limit, but you're not really using it that often. Like, you probably don't even touch your card. So the benefit of providing that balance is kind of redundant. So they might revoke the higher balance and take just provide something smaller that's more suitable for your needs. Now, the third circumstance where they will consider, you know, fiddling around with your credit limit is external factors. So the economy, or maybe some changes within the company itself, which means that they want to reduce the limit provided to customers. And in terms of external factors like recession and things like that, where they feel that customers are going to find it harder to give the money back because of different due to different impacts affecting salary, what's coming in, what's going out, changing to the point where it's going to be, you know, they need to kind of safeguard their money as well. Because if people can't afford to pay them back, they're not getting the money back that they lent in return. So the company has to safeguard themselves. Hence, reducing the limit helps with that substantially. So now that you're aware of reasons why AMEX would even consider dropping your limit, I contacted AMEX. So in terms of my circumstances, with that credit limit I had only used on my card around £700. So if you look at the big limit there, I wouldn't class this as using it quite limited because it is being used. I wouldn't class this as being using a lot as well. So I was very confused why they've done this. I spoke to someone at AMEX, so they wasn't disclosing any clear reasons, but one of the colleagues I spoke to basically advised that when they looked at my account, you know, I paid everything on time, I am not overspending or underspending, and it seems, reviewing their account overall, that the chances are external factors, one of which being like, you know, how the economy is at the moment, recession kind of coming into play. And I think also they're not really disclosing this, but I think with Christmas coming around the corner, I think they're a little bit concerned as well in terms of people's spending might go up, but what they have in terms of would they be able to basically pay that money back, it might become a bit difficult. So it's kind of several factors. Even if you look at the external component, it could be so many different factors that they could be looking at. But unfortunately, that's what he said. That's a rough estimate, but he wasn't able to provide any clear guidance on this, which you can understand is frustrating because essentially something like ClearScore, I think it's ClearScore or Credit Karma, it takes account of your overall credit. So essentially, if you compile all your credit cards together, if it's above 16,000, it's considered as a good credit limit. But also if you can manage it and things, and you keep the percentage usage on those credit cards low, it works in your favor, increasing your credit limit. Now, when there's been a substantial drop in my credit limit, this is going to have a heavy credit impact on my score. So my score with whether Experian, ClearScore, whatever, these big companies, I think it's Experian, Equifax, what's the other one? I can't remember the third one. I think there's 4 actually. It has a massive impact on your credit score. So that's my frustration. There's 2 points. So one, that the credit limits drop substantially. Second, it's going to have a massive whack on my credit score. So I did discuss this with AMEX, and unfortunately, the only option that they provided was to appeal the decision, which is fine. Essentially, what they do is when you appeal the decision, you will provide 3 months of bank statements to AMEX. They will review the account, and if they feel that they want to reinstate your credit limit, they will do so in 48 hours. So 48 hours is kind of the time frame they need to review your account. I'll give it up to 72 hours anyway. So yes, of course, that's one option. But what frustrated me the most is they went ahead and substantially dropped that limit when I wasn't kind of falling into the first 2 factors of overspending and underspending. Yes, there's external impact, but why would you drop it so significantly? So for that reason, I decided this isn't probably the best means, but I wanted to first do a complaint. So that's why I've kind of lodged with them a complaint in terms of the impact it's had on me, but them carrying out this action, obviously on the credit score. And, you know, taking account of all the factors, I think the drop they've implemented is too significant in my relation, in my perception for myself. So, yeah, I'm going to have to see how the outcome of that goes. But for those that this may happen to, that's watching this video, or maybe it's happened to, or you've got AMEX card and you should be wary of, if this happens to you, that's obviously the reasons why it could happen. But the way to kind of go around it, if you want to try and get the credit limit reinstated, apply for them to appeal the decision to have this credit reinstated, whereby, you know, you provide your bank statements and they review it. That's for 3-month period. They review the incoming and outgoings. And I think they said that it should roughly be 3,000 something that comes into your account. I can't remember if that was every month or for that 3-month period. So you would need to double check that. Obviously, from this experience, I'm very disappointed because I've got Barclay card and I've never ever had this issue. The limit on there is very high as well. And that's the other thing. They may also look at all the other credit cards, all the other loans you have. How are you paying those and how much they are valued at? That's another factor they will look at every 6 months. If your credit's increased, and are you coping with that? And is the money quite significant compared to what it was when we gave you the credit at the beginning? So that could be another factor. But in terms of these loans and credit cards, there hasn't been any substantial increase or any new credit. So that's another thing that's kind of frazzled me in that regard. But like I said, Barclaycard, I use that a lot more, right? And it's a bigger credit card as well. And I've never had this issue. The other thing I will say that Barclaycard's customer service is amazing. And I'm not specifically highlighting this company because I get rewarded or whatever by them. Not at all. There's no benefit to me doing this video. I'm not going to get any monetary benefit. It's just the case that this is what I've picked up in terms of service. Even every 6 months they review my account. This has never happened. So I think there is some kind of a background or underlying issue happening with AMEX that's kind of impacting the credit. But they are providing, compared to other credit providers, quite large credit limits. There's something they should be reviewing ongoing. In terms of whether they should be providing such limits at the forefront, you know, especially if afterwards you're just going to quickly revoke it and revoke it quite heavily, you know. So, yeah, that's all I really wanted to kind of discuss with you guys. It was something that was a point of interest, but something that annoyed me quite substantially in terms of I find the actions to be quite heavy-handed. So I think it's kind of a useful video for, you know, people that are considering maybe even getting an AMEX card, or, you know, maybe that you got an AMEX card and, you know, this is very likely to happen to you too. If you fall into kind of circumstances or situation like mine, it might be reviewed kind of with the same discretion and the same way. So it's something for you to be wary about. I don't know if I will want to keep the American Express anyway going forward after what's happened. I think the reason behind that also, to add to that, is I can't use MX half the places. Whenever I go several places, they don't accept MX, which is very annoying, as the Barclaycard works everywhere. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to discuss. Hopefully you guys are more aware in terms of this, and you can, you know, carry out the steps, you know, as necessary if this does happen to you. I think that's pretty much it. I don't think I really need to say anything else in this regard. If you guys do have some questions, note them in the video, note them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to address those. In terms of any other video ideas you think I should do a video on, let me know. And of course, I'll see you in the upcoming video. But before I shoot off, subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. Check out my website, swfinances.com, and subscribe there if you like. So guys, have a lovely week, and I'll see you very soon in my upcoming video. Take care. Bye.